Honestly, I'm flabbergasted. I'm flabbergasted at the weather, the grayness. I'm Cuban, soy cubana. Look at my, her name's Reina. This is my Don, bruv. Like, look at me, sim. And I'm here in London suffering. Anywho. Woo! The Four Agreements, a Toltec wisdom book by Don Miguel Ruiz. See, I read this book, first of all, maybe, no, I remember when I read this book. I read this book when I was in Chicago, so it must have been, I think it was 2016. It was 2016, and I read this book and I thought, rah, this is a life manual. And you know, with anything, with books and experiences, you forget about them and you like move on or whatever, and then you come across them again and you go, how did I forget to keep living my life like that? So actually, it's a super easy read. Like, this book is, you can get through this in a day. So I've set myself a challenge to make it a monthly read, despite all the other books that I will be reading. And when I say I got books to read, guys, I got books to read. But the Four Agreements, okay, so I'm gonna try and remember them off head. There is be impeccable with your word, which means, well, I'll try and remember all four and then I'll go back over what I interpreted them as. Be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Always do your best. And it's something along the lines of, shit. Always do your best. Oh, don't make assumptions. Which obviously I always very fail. I fail at. That's not English. I fail at that horrendously, because I make assumptions about everything. But the book does talk about forgiving yourself when you're making the assumptions about shit. I assume everything. I assume that person ain't called me today, X, Y, Z. But I guess that's a part of what used to be my overthinking culture. I have disowned that narrative. There's also a fifth agreement, apparently. I read at the back of the book that I'm going to order and read through, that he discovered along with his son, which I think is really dope. So anyway, be impeccable with your word. So for those of us that have had experience with religion or Christianity in that sense, there is a saying in the Bible and in the religion itself that there is power in the tongue. And be impeccable with your word kind of means what you say to yourself and what you say to others, you make sure only holds life-affirming, positive things. Because what you speak, ultimately you live and ultimately you exist in. And I agree with that. So I think especially when it comes down to self-talk and how you talk to yourself, or when you speak to yourself in your brain, like, are you being impeccable with your word, or are you going around going, oh, I broke a glass, I'm a dickhead? Do you know what I mean? That's not necessarily helpful, because if you believe yourself to be a dickhead, you'll go around doing dickhead things. It also, under the category of being impeccable with your word, talks about gossiping about people, and to not get drawn in to the idea that gossiping about another person makes you more connected to the person you are doing the gossiping with. Gossip is ultimately an insecurity. You're insecure about something you are, or that you can see in yourself, so you put the attention on someone else. I heard say that so-and-so did this because they did that. Oh, I heard so-and-so went there because they wanted to did it. What concerns you, number one? But also number two, how does that add to your sense of self? My phone is popping off and I should have just like left it on. I should have just left it on airplane mode while I made this. So anyway, so, but you know what's funny is that when you, as a culture, as a society, we're so caught up, especially when it comes to like the shade room or the shade bar. And this is another reason why I came off social media. I'll probably go back. I will go back on. I know I will go back on, but for the beginning of 2020, it's all about reading books and just being not bombarded with messages and images of people doing things. I think social media breeds gossip, but this isn't about that. This is about the book. So it talks about that, and then it's always do your best. It's like whatever it is that you're doing, do it with like integrity and the best of your ability. And even if that means you don't get as much done as you would have done before, doing it with your best means that you do it with full joy and full presence, because you're going, I'm gonna be fucking, why do I swear? I'm gonna be so good at this. I'm gonna do this with my full heart. And I love that. Because you can do everything with your best, and it leaves you feeling absolutely, yeah, I put my all into that. I'm all right about that. Don't make assumptions. Making assumptions makes an ass of you and me, which has always been the truth. Assumptions only leave you with fabricated ideas of your perception of reality. I just made that up. Assumptions only leave you with Assumptions only leave you with fabricated ideas of your Assumptions only leave you with fabricated ideas of your perception of reality. Do with that what you will. I think that's kind of hard. Don't take things personally. That was one that I definitely remembered, and I tried to do a lot, but it's hard when your ego kicks in and you think to yourself, oh, I'm this person, and why is that person treating me that way? Or I'm ego. Like, it's ego. And the fact is, I'm not who I am as a persona, or my personality as an idea of me. There's Ronks that is here, and I guess there's Ronks that's here, and then there's the Ronks that other people make up. So there's all these different versions of ourselves, and we are like, if we buy into them, play into them, lean into them, we become them, and that's our ego, and it can be all consuming. And then everything will affect us constantly. And I think I've covered all four. I think this is a beautiful book. There are a couple of things in there that I was like, I don't really like that terminology. And if you read it, let me know if you agree with me. I'm not going to say what it is, so you got to read it to let me know what you think it is. But also at the back of this book, which I always find really nice, is that there are prayers. Always find really nice. I mean, it was a nice surprise to find the prayers again, where he kind of gives you a prayer for freedom, and a prayer for love, and a prayer for love is a long one. Oh, I think it's, yeah. Anyway, that's nice, isn't it? Super easy book, beautiful book. But I remember the first time I read this, I gave this to my mum. She really enjoyed it. So the 4 agreements, I'll let you know when I read the 5th agreement. Can you imagine? I have to use a light here in London because it's so grey outside. Look at this. This is how dark it is. I'd probably have to face this. It kind of looks like mood lighting. Anyway,